I was here in Singapore at the very, very beginning of ABC when we didn't have a place to live, and we were going from one temple to the other. Each day of teachings was somewhere else, borrowing other people's spaces, and I was moving from house to house and flat to flat in Singapore because, everything was just starting. We didn't have everything. And Mummy Alice, some of you may know her. She was the director at that time and really held things together. She's now in a care facility, and I plan on going to visit her in a few days. But this is also an indication of aging, sickness, change that we all go through. Because I came here originally in '87. Yeah. So many of you were in your previous lifetime then. Yeah. So I didn't know you, at least not in this form. Okay. But slowly over the years, through people working together and coming together, then being able to build a beautiful center like this and invite many lamas, qualified lamas, to come and teach here, and also to have an excellent teacher like Geshe Chuni as your resident teacher. I met Geshe Chuni in 1975 in Kopan when we were both uh, significantly younger. Yeah. So it's interesting, as you grow and you see the people you knew changing and assuming more responsibility and having more good qualities. Yeah. So it's very nice to be here and see that, the seeds we planted back in the late '80s have borne really good fruit, and the ability for so many people in Singapore to meet the Dharma and practice the Dharma, and that is something quite precious for all of us. And on a personal level, on a community level, and I think on a national level, because if people follow the Buddha's precepts and keep good ethical conduct, are kind and generous and so forth, then it's very good for the country as a whole. There's less discord. Yeah. Um, if you want to see a group of people in a country that doesn't do that, come to where I live. Okay. Where the political scene is, calling it a circus is polite. Yeah. Yeah. So it really, when we watch what happens in the world around us, the society around us, uh, and when we look at our own life and when we look at the lives of our friends and family and our enemies and strangers, um, then we really see how the practice of Buddha Dharma brings peace in this life and creates virtuous karma and a feeling of well-being, yeah, and harmony in the society, yeah. So all of us are responsible for harmony in society. Okay, it's not something that can be legislated, yeah, or you can't. Um, how to say, make policy decisions to create harmony. Well, you could, but they aren't as nearly as effective as if each of the citizens in turn transforms their own mind and really cares about the other people in the country, in the world. Yeah, that is what makes a big difference. So, in one way, yeah, uh, as individuals, we are not very important. There's now 8 billion human beings on this planet. So, one compared to 8 billion, we're not so important. Okay. On the other hand, what one individual does can influence a huge number of other people. And in that way, we are very important because if we, if we lie and cheat and act in ways to be selfish and to uh, oppress other people, yeah, then we harm a great deal of other sentient beings because our actions have effects. Yeah, and this is something really important in Buddha Dharma. Our actions have effects. They have effects now, they have effects on us in future lives, they have effects on the kind of world that we create, that we leave to future generations. Okay? So, in that regard, being aware of climate change, cutting our carbon imprint, these kinds of things are very, very important and make a big difference in people's lives. Okay, so we can see, one person who has a lot of anger and resentment starts wars, kills, they may not kill anybody with their own hands, but they direct the killing of thousands and even millions of people, you know. On the other hand, somebody who has a kind heart and compassion and wants to benefit others, they can have a very broad influence too and create a lot of happiness in the world. So, in that way, you know, our actions are important and we are important um, for society and for the world. Yeah. So it's good to keep this in mind. And especially, as Mahayana practitioners, we talk about bodhicitta and wanting to attain full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yeah. Well, just that aspiration is showing, that on one hand, we aren't important because there's all sentient beings. On the other hand, as an individual, we are important because we can lead sentient beings to awakening, or through our actions, we can incite violence and lead them to the lowest hell realm. Okay, so this is all our own choice and our own responsibility. Yeah, and I think that is what they call the good news. Okay, that we have responsibility means that we have power to change things. If everything were in the hands of an external creator, yeah, and the external creator kind of plotted out everybody's life and fate and so on, then there's not much we can do to create the cause of happiness. Maybe you have to please the creator, but that's kind of strange. It's kind of transactional. I please the creator, then the creator does something nice for me. Yeah. In Buddhism, we want to cultivate a kind heart because that's what is good and what is valuable. Yeah. Not because so that we get more money or we get social status or we're famous or something like that, but because it's the right thing to do and it creates good effects for many, many living beings. Okay. So bodhicitta is we're taking responsibility for our own liberation and also for the liberation and awakening of other living beings too. We aren't just sitting there and praying. Yeah. Many of you, or I should ask maybe, how many of you watch His Holiness's teachings that have been live streamed uh, over the last year or two? Many of you watch that? Yeah. At the Abbey, we all watch it. But if you notice, every single time he talks about how Buddhism is a faith based on reason and logic. It's not based on blind faith. Yeah. And this is really incredibly important because sometimes you go places and lots of people come to pray. They'll come to the temple to pray. And when I first came to Singapore in 1987, this was kind of the state of Buddhism at that time, burning paper money. I arrived in the 7th month and I was like, what's going on here? I had never seen these kinds of things before, so there was a confusion of what is Buddhism and what is, folk tradition and ancestor worship and so on. A lot of that has really been cleaned up in the Buddhist temples now. And I think especially the young people have a much better idea of what the Buddhist teachings are and what practice means. But anyway, a lot of people just kind of emotionally, they feel very good, that like they pray to Buddha, like you would pray to some external God. And they pray for material things, for things that have to do with the happiness of only this life. Okay? So, Buddha, 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 please, may I win the lottery. Yeah. Buddha, 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 please. May my son marry a nice woman. May my daughter have career advancement and marry a nice man. Please, Buddha. Yeah. May I always be healthy. That's impossible, but we pray for it anyway. Uh, yeah. Um, Please, Buddha, may I have a new bright red sports car? May I have a corner office? May I get a raise? Yeah. May I have a nice boss? And these are all things that have to do just with the happiness of this life, things that are quite impermanent, quite transient. Even we get them. Yeah, they're come, go, go. They don't remain forever. And yet we think that if we pray to Buddha, then Buddha should bring all these things to us. And we even have kind of a business mind with Buddha. Okay, Buddha, please, first you give me the red sports car. First you make sure I have a corner office and that I can get a new flat. And then I'll make an offering to the temple. So Buddha, first you deliver the goods and then I'll make an offering. Yeah, but I'm not going to make an offering first, Okay, so do you see the mind that's like that? It has faith in something external that will help us just in worldly things. Yeah. Now it's okay to pray for good health and so on. Yeah. But then we should use our good health for practicing the Dharma. Yeah. It's okay to pray for harmony in the family. But then we shouldn't just stop there. We should create harmony in society. Okay? And so to really see that, like I said, our actions make a difference. They matter, to ourselves and to other people. So we have to take up the responsibility. These 2 days, we're going to focus on the 4 establishments of mindfulness, which is a Buddhist practice that the Buddha taught himself while he was alive and encouraged people to do. In the Tibetan tradition, the 4 establishments of mindfulness is usually taught in the context of the ornament of clear realizations. I know some of you have followed that class. You may have heard about this and maybe even practiced it. But aside from that, in the Tibetan tradition, the 4 establishments are not emphasized a lot like they are in the Theravada tradition, where they're a principal practice. But actually, when you look at the 4 mindfulnesses, the way they are designed and the qualities that they give rise to, the kind of wisdom and understanding that practicing them gives rise to, is very much in line with the 3 principal aspects of the path and with the approach of the Tibetan tradition. Yeah. Very often in Tibetan centers, I'm fussy, sorry. Very often in Tibetan centers, people get into Tantra very quickly. Yeah, there's this thing of, Tantra is high and it's mysterious and, it's special. So you want to get involved with Tantra really quickly. And then you start, thank you. Okay, good. Yeah, you can put a piece of chocolate here. Yeah. Then, yeah. So we get into Tantra and we start imagining ourselves as, Chenrezi with 1,000 arms and 11 heads, or we imagine ourselves as Tara with a green body, or we imagine ourselves as Yamantaka, with our fangs. And so we spend a lot of time imagining ourselves as being something other than what we are right now, because that's how Tantra does it. You gain familiarity by doing the practice and imagining yourself as other things like this. But we're very out of touch with what our actual experience is right now. So before we even understand our present experience, we're imagining being something else. And I think what the 4 establishments of mindfulness do is they bring us back to our present experience. And then as we get into Tantra, we see that there's also 4 establishments of mindfulness that are in the Tantra practice. Okay? So when you're visualizing yourself as the deity, that is mindfulness of the body. Okay? In ordinary mindfulness, we're mindfulness of this thing. Okay? And what it's made of and how it functions. In Tantra, we imagine having a body made of light. Yeah. Then feelings. Yeah. In Sutrayana practice and in our regular lives, we have to get in touch with, you know, our unsatisfactory, unpleasant feelings, with our happy feelings, with neutral feelings, and see how these things uh, generate, uh, you know, craving and ignorance. In Tantra, we focus on the feeling of great bliss and how that is involved with creating the wisdom. Okay? In the regular four mindfulnesses, the third one, mindfulness of the mind, yeah, we become aware of just how our mind works and how it's going from one thought to the next and one emotion to the next and how it motivates our actions and all these kinds of things. And in Tantra, also, we're paying attention to the mind and what is it on the conventional level and what is it on the ultimate level. Okay? And then phenomena, the fourth object of mindfulness. In an ordinary way, we are mindful of various mental factors that are going on in our mind, and we're also mindful of how we relate to the environment. And similarly, in Tantra, we're aware of the mental factors, and we're creating a whole different environment. Yeah, one that is a manifestation of bliss and emptiness. So it's quite interesting how you have these four objects just in our ordinary life, and then how they actually get transformed into tantric practice. But I see really understanding them, how we are now, is really essential. It shows us how special Tantra is, but it also helps us understand why we do what we do. Yeah. Are you a puzzle to yourself? Yeah. How many people here feel like you really understand yourself? Yeah. Or are we kind of a mystery to ourselves? Yeah. Do you ever find yourself saying things and you're going, why am I saying this? I should just shut up. But you keep saying it. Yeah, like especially the things that your parents said to you that you vowed you would never say to your kids. And then poof, out they come. Yeah, I see some nodding heads there. So, why does this happen? What's going on? What kind of conditioning have we had earlier in this life and in previous lives that we sometimes think and speak and act in ways that don't even make sense to us? Okay? Sometimes even people ask us, well, how do you feel? And we don't know. Yeah. Somebody says, how do you feel about this? Not how do you think. We can often give a thought reaction, but how do you feel? Yeah. What? What is feeling? I don't understand. Because some families don't talk about feelings. Yeah. Happy, unhappy, neutral. They don't talk about emotions. Yeah. You just kind of go through your family life, but nobody names these things to you when you're a kid. And so as an adult, you don't even know how to identify when you're angry. Yeah? That happened to you? Sometimes you think you're completely okay, and then you look and it's like, how did I get this angry? I'm acting like I'm totally out of control with anger. Ever happened to anybody here? Okay. So this happens often because we never learned how to the designations for different emotions or different feelings. Yeah, and this really can affect our ability to communicate with other people now, especially in very close relationships where your spouse might say, well, how do you, what are you feeling? And you go, I don't know. Okay. So, this practice of the four establishments of mindfulness is very, very effective in observing what we feel, what is going on with our five aggregates and in our life right now. And then having that kind of knowledge, then we can act with wisdom, yeah, to have appropriate, to see our five aggregates, to see our body and mind in very realistic and appropriate ways. And then that sets the stage for actually transforming them and improving our lives. Okay, is that making some sense to you? Yeah. So what I'll be doing for this teaching is, Gala, no, let me get the name right, Chucky Galson, okay? He is the Yigcha writer for Sarajay Monastery. So Yigchas, every monastery has its own specific debate texts, and they're written usually by specific authors. So he's the one for Sarajay, and ABC's teachers, the majority of teachers at ABC are from Sarajay. And so he wrote a small text about the four establishments of mindfulness that is very short. It's only like, I don't know, 12, 13 pages, but there is a lot in it, and you could meditate on this for a long time. So I want to go through that, and I'll be basing the commentary on, I received teachings on this from my teacher, from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also from Geshe Sonam Rinchen. Okay, and in fact, when I was working on the library, the different volumes for the Library of Wisdom and Compassion, so volume 3, this one, okay, called Following in the Footsteps of the Buddha. It's all about Jine and Laktung, serenity and insight. And the last section in the book goes into the 37 harmonies with awakening, and a lot into the four establishments of mindfulness. So when I was working on that topic with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, I asked him, to go over the four establishments of mindfulness. And it was very sweet. He sent his attendant to go get the text, and he brought the text out and opened it. And then he said, this is a teaching that the Buddha taught when he was manifesting as an ordinary living being here in our world. And then he said, I feel when I read those sutras talking about the Buddha as he, lived in India and who he taught and how he related to people, he said, it makes me really understand the Buddha on a very human level. Yeah. And that's very precious to see how he lived his life among ordinary human beings with all of our craziness, yeah, and yet taught us and guided us, discussed things with many different kind of living beings. So he said that with a special kind of light in his eye of appreciation for Shakyamuni Buddha. And then he gave the teaching, he explained the four. Okay, so I often wonder how the sages in previous generations ever taught the Dharma without a computer. And how did they write, all these texts without a computer? I mean, some of them, they're a whole collection of texts. If you look, Tsongkhapa's collection of text is huge, and his two main disciples, Gyaltsabje and Khedabje, huge texts. Yeah. And I know when I write, it's like I'm always changing things and moving things around and like this. I mean, that's how I got through college without a computer. I don't know how I did it, because now it's like impossible. But I think of J. Tsongkhapa, or Chandrakirti in India, dictating their text to some scribe. And the scribe is, furiously writing. And then Chandrakirti goes, that last section that you just wrote, let's put it earlier in the text. And the scribe goes, there's no cut and copy. I wrote it on palm leaves. How do I do that? I can't cut up the palm leaves. But it's amazing, when you think about what it takes what it takes to write these texts. How did they do it then? It shows how dependent we've become on technology, which technology has its benefits and it has its disadvantages. And we need to be aware of both and not be infatuated with technology. Yeah, I think sometimes we get very infatuated with technology. Yeah, like artificial intelligence. Oh, let's create a computer that thinks like a human being. Why? What's the benefit? Which human being? What kind of values? We don't ask those questions. We're just infatuated with our intelligence that has the ability to create all these new things without thinking of the effect of these new things. Okay, I'm getting off track. I do this sometimes and give social commentary. So you just have to, this is your practice of fortitude and patience. But for me, the reason I do this is because for me, my spiritual practice influences everything I come in contact with. It's not just Sunday morning. It's not just going to the temple and, offering some draw sticks. It's like I've got to look inside and transform what I'm thinking and saying and doing and feeling so that it coincides with the values that the Buddha taught, because the Buddha's values are really supreme, So there's one video, what was it called? The documentary about some of the people in Silicon Valley who invented Facebook and social media. who thought it was like so exciting. And now they're seeing the effect of social media on society. And they're thinking, what did we create? This is kind of like a monster in some ways. Yeah, there's a video, a documentary about it. Social dilemma. Okay, yeah. So I really recommend kind of thinking about this. Hmm? Okay, so there's 8 topics or 8 parts to this discussion. Yeah, so this is the main outline. So first we talk about the observed objects, yeah, which are the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. Then we talk about the manner of meditation, yeah, and third, the reason or purpose for the meditation. So, how to do the meditation, and then why we're doing it, and what we should be learning from doing the meditation. Then fourth is the nature of the 4. Fifth is the divisions of, the 4 objects. 6 is the boundary, for whom is this their main practice. 7th is the etymology, why it's called 4 establishments of mindfulness. And then 8th is the establishment of the practicement. Okay, it's establishing why the 4 foundations or 4 establishments of mindfulness are superior in the Mahayana tradition. Okay, and I'll give you a clue to that one. It's because of bodhicitta. Okay, so we see in this practice, in every practice we do, how important bodhicitta is. That aspiration to attain full awakening, to benefit all sentient beings. And that is kind of that's the heart of it. That's the reason for everything. Yeah. And if we get stuck in just doing our Dharma practice and meditating, because it makes me feel good, or so that I gain special qualities and other people will think I'm very special. If we have those kind of motivations, if we're doing it for money, then not only are we corrupt, but we are corrupting the existence of the Dharma in the world. Okay? So the bodhicitta motivation really essential in everything. And so that's why we generated it at the beginning of the teachings today. Okay, so let's go into these 8 parts. The first one, the observed object. Okay, so like I said, the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. So when we talk about the body, there are three kinds of body. I mean, they're not really different bodies, but yeah, 3 aspects of the body. So one is the external body, this thing, okay, that's made of the, all the materials on the element chart of elements, yeah, made of those, and from the ancient perspective of the earth, water, space, and fire. Okay, then the second part of the body is the internal body, and this refers to the very subtle sense powers that actually do connect the object with the consciousness. So to make it, there's been discussion, well, what, the Buddhist texts define it, but what does this mean in terms of human physiology? So the visual sense power, okay, that sees colors and shapes, some people say it's like the rods and cones on the back of our retina, and the, just subtle things that can actually detect the sense, the objects. And then the third is the body that is both internal and external, which refers to the organs, the big physical organs that the sense powers are located in. Okay, so the ear is not the actual sense power. It's probably, what is it, the stirrup and, help me here, hammer and stirrup? Come on, some of you must know this. It's in primary 4. And what? Behind the eardrum, the hammer and stirrup, in the cochlea, yeah? Okay, so it's that, but then this big ear is like the outer part, so it's the outer and the inner together. Okay, so that's the three types of body. 3 types of feeling. So here, feeling doesn't mean emotion. Often in English, feeling means emotion. Here it means pleasant or happy feeling, unpleasant or suffering, painful feeling, and one that is neutral or neither happy or suffering. So just those 3 feelings, but I tell you, we're completely hooked to them, and they run our lives. Yeah? When we have happy feelings, what happens? I want more, I want better, gimme, gimme, gimme. Okay? Unpleasant feelings, get it away. Neutral feelings, space out. Yeah? And so, depending on what we feel, then so many emotions arise in the mind. And due to the emotions, especially the disturbing ones, the disturbing emotions and views and disturbing attitudes make us create non-virtuous karma. And the virtuous mental factors stimulate us to create virtuous karma. Okay, and then the third one, mind, refers to the 6 primary consciousnesses. So what are they? Many of you people have been studying for a long time. You better be able to tell me the 6 primary consciousness. Otherwise, I'm going to tell Geshe Chuni on you. What's the first one? Yeah, the eye or visual consciousness. Then hearing, auditory consciousness. Then, come on, ask a 9-year-old. What's the third? It's olfactory. Okay. 4th one, taste. 5th one, tactile. Yeah. 6th consciousness, mental consciousness. Okay. Yeah. So the mind is getting the object of mindfulness. The mind focuses on those 6 consciousnesses. And then phenomena refers to all the mental factors that aren't stealing, that aren't feelings, and it refers to all permanent phenomena and also all abstract composites. That's the term I use for non-associated compounded phenomena. Okay, a different translation. Okay, so now here's the part that I find very interesting. Why these 4? Why these 4? Okay, it's because as childish beings, that means us. Okay, yeah, we are childish beings. because we don't understand the world very well. And because we act like children sometimes, don't we? Yeah. Not sometimes, actually, quite a bit. We act like children. Yeah. Except we're in a different body, so we think that we're better than children, and we come up with all sorts of rationalizations for our childish behavior. Do you think? Yeah. Do you act like a child sometimes? Yeah. Do you have temper tantrums? Yeah. If you want to watch some adult temper tantrums, look at the president of my country, the former president, thank goodness. You know, yeah, he throws temper tantrums all the time. How is that possible? Yeah, well, he's a childish being. Okay, and we're not any better, so don't think that, because we have our own way of throwing temper tantrums. Yeah, you don't give me what I want. Yeah, we're married and you don't tell me you love me every day. Oh, you're terrible. And I feel bad. My feelings are hurt. Okay. Okay. So the reason for these four as our observed objects. First, it's to keep the childish beings from conceiving of these four in an incorrect, unhelpful way. So, what are the four ways, one for each of these objects, that we conceive them in an inappropriate way? Well, we conceive the body to be the basis or the abode of our identity, of the I, the self. Okay, so this is a wrong view. Yeah. So, do you think of your body as where yourself is located? Yeah. Myself is here. Yeah. Sometimes we even think I am my body. Other times we think I possess the body. But this is where I am. Yeah, I'm not on the other side of the room. So there's a lot of attachment to this body. So that's why it's the first object of mindfulness. The second one, feelings. Yeah, we childish beings see feelings as the ground, as the basis for what we enjoy, and the feelings are what is experienced by the self. So we feel, we think there's a self somewhere here with this, and then our pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings are what the self experiences, isn't it? And we care a whole lot about what that self experiences, isn't it? This is one of our primary motivations. Okay, then the mind, but this is again wrong conception. Then the mind, childish beings, see the mind as their actual identity. So who am I? I'm my mind. Of course, nowadays, what's interesting is some of the scientists say, I am my brain. And they confuse the brain with the mind. This is His Holiness Dalai Lama loves to have exchanges with scientists, but he really draws the line when they say that the mind is material, the mind is brain. Okay. And I was at some of those Mind and Life conferences that His Holiness attended several decades ago, actually. And I remember one of them, there were two scientists there, and both of them were reductionist. In other words, everything was reduced to matter, material. Yeah. And so, you know, your experiences are simply the chemistry of what's going on in your brain. You know what your dopamine and is doing and what the nerve synapses are doing, and that's what your experience is, just that. Okay. So some of us at the end of one of the days of the conferences, we were imagining what that scientist's marriage was like, because we can just imagine, you know, his wife saying, "I love you," and him going, "Wait a minute, I have to know your galvanic skin response. I have to know what's going on with your neurons in this particular part of your brain. And, you know, if everything matches up with the correct numbers, then I will believe you love me." Yeah, those guys must have had a great marriage, huh? um, okay. So the mind, thinking that the mind is our identity. Yeah. So, you know, he was thinking the mind is the body, but just I am my mind. But that's kind of problematic because we have so many minds, so many conscious states of consciousness. Which one are we? Yeah. Okay. And then phenomena, yeah, we explore that to stop the childish um, from thinking of phenomena such as attachment. Um, you know how we think. This is worded in a weird way. Okay, we think of attachment and anger to be what disturbs the mind and the person, and other mental factors like trust in the three jewels, integrity, ethical integrity, as being virtuous mental factors. So we think of some of our mental events as afflicting us, contaminating us by making us create non virtue, and other mental events as purifying the self. Okay? So that's why we focus on these four. So I find that very interesting, you know, to watch my own experience and, you know, how much do I feel like I am in my body? And where in the body is the I? And am I really in the body? Okay, it's interesting to sit with that. Yeah, or my feelings. Yeah, the feelings, are the feelings really what I enjoy? Well, enjoy, use, yes, they happen. Yeah, but some of the feelings that we experience, either derived from the sense consciousnesses or the mental consciousness, are actually quite painful. Yeah, aren't they? Yeah, are you happy all the time? Hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, really looking at our feelings. How do I relate to my feelings? How much am I a slave to pleasant feelings? Like, I want pleasant feelings all the time. From when I wake up in the morning, I want pleasant feelings till I go to bed at night. I want pleasant feelings. I don't want painful feelings. Even when I'm dreaming, I want pleasant feelings. Yeah. So how much do feelings run my life? Yeah. And especially how much do the different feelings create craving in my mind and direct my mind to pay attention to certain things and ignore other things? Okay. When we take a lunch break, yeah, then watch as you eat lunch, or even before you eat lunch. Yeah, you look at what your choices are, what you could eat, and you imagine what they're gonna taste like, and then you choose what you think will taste good, right? And we take this is a very important thing in our lives. Yeah, in my family, yeah, if they're going to get takeout, you spend about a half an hour discussing what you're going to order for the takeout. And if you go to a restaurant, then you discuss for a half an hour before you order. And then when you're eating, you discuss, how the food is. Is it pleasurable, like you thought it was going to be? Is it not? Is it cold? Is it burnt? Yeah. And our whole mind, with our human intelligence that has the ability to understand the nature of reality, we focus our mind on the pleasant feelings of a meal, and those pleasant feelings last how long? Yeah, not very long, but single pointed focus. Okay, so observing these things in our own experience, we get to understand ourselves and, what's going on with me. Mhm. Okay. Um, so the division into the four objects is made to help the childish overcome clinging to the self. So we try and overcome those four conceptions that I just mentioned. Yeah, that the self is located in the body, that the feelings are what gives experienced by the self and makes it happy or unhappy, the mind as the identity or the actuality of what we are, and phenomena as, especially different mental factors determining whether we are virtuous or non-virtuous. Okay? So we try and overcome the four conceptions of above. All four focus on the self as inherently existent and everything arranged around that self, like our environment and our friends. Okay? So we see ourselves in a very specific way as something very solid, very real. Yeah. But we also see ourselves in very contradictory ways. One moment, we feel immutable. I am permanent, nothing can destroy me. Yeah. And other times, we're scared for our life, thinking that we could disappear any moment. So we have very contradictory notions about the self, that are quite confusing for us. But they're all so much of how we think, how much our life is oriented. What's the center of it? This big, solid I. Okay, this inherently existent I that does not depend on other things, yeah, that should be able to control the world, okay, that the I whose happiness is more important than anybody else's, whose suffering hurts more than anybody else's, whose interests are more important to be pursued than anybody else's. Yeah. In other words, we create this notion of this, unified self that can set itself up. And then we're attached to that and think that it's the center of the universe. And this gets us in a lot of trouble. Yeah. Because with 8 billion human beings on the planet, and each one thinking it's the center of the universe, then there's going to be a little bit of friction for who is the real center of the universe, who is really more important. And it conveniently happens to be me. Yeah. And the problem with the world is that you think you're the center of the universe and you don't realize I am. That is the big problem in the world. Okay? Because if you realize that I am the center of the universe, then you would do everything I wanted. Then there would be no conflict. Yeah. Why do we have conflict? Because you don't follow my ideas and you don't do what I want. Yeah? So this is the big problem in the world, that other people think that they're the center of the universe and they don't realize I am. Oh, goodness. Okay, do you think that that causes some problems in your life? Yeah, causes a lot of problems. It's behind our temper tantrums. Yeah, all of our temper tantrums. You did this to me. You swindled me in the business deal. It was unfair. Oh. Of course, we think we aren't children because our external behavior isn't like that. Well, sometimes it is, actually. But inside, the mind is very much like that, like a kid's behavior. Yeah. Okay, so the manner of meditation. This is the second outline. So this has different points under it. So the first point is the common manner of meditation. Okay, so meditation should be performed through making an examination of both the common and individual aspects of the body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. Okay, so the common aspects are, of those four, is all of them are impermanent. All of them are in the nature of dukkha. I use the word dukkha, the Pali Sanskrit word, instead of suffering, because suffering in English refers to just painful experiences. Dukkha, on the other hand, refers to unsatisfactory, anything that's unsatisfactory. Okay? So they're different, dukkha and suffering. Okay. So the common characteristics, all of them are impermanent. All of them are the nature of dukkha. They're unsatisfactory by nature. All of them are empty of a permanent, partless, independent soul or self, and all of them are selfless and lack a self-sufficient, substantially existent self. That's according to the common view of all the tenet systems. The Prasangika unique view is of an inherently existent self. Okay. So they are explained, those common conditions are explained in relationship to, the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. So, and so how are they common? How do we generalize from them? All conditioned things are impermanent. Okay, so a conditioned phenomena is anything that is created by causes and conditions. Yeah, so anything that is conditioned changes. Why does it change? Because its causes change. Yeah, one of our big problems in our life is we would like certain things that are conditioned and changed, we want them to be permanent and not change. Okay, but change is the very nature of the things in our life, and it's the very nature of our body and mind and ourself. Yeah. So we're always trying to pin things down and make them concrete so that we feel secure. But we're never secure because the very ambience in which we exist is one in which things are changing every moment and never remaining the same. So our refusal to accept impermanence causes us a great deal of pain. Because when things we want to have and remain with us, when they change or when our relationship with them changes, we get very upset. This isn't supposed to happen. Okay? And we get angry at reality because we think reality shouldn't happen. But when there's a conflict between what we think and the reality of the situation, what's going to win? Reality always wins. Okay? So we can throw as many temper tantrums and get as angry as we want, but we can't change reality. And reality is a conditioned phenomena. Okay? So how do we reject the reality of change? Yeah, we're shocked when we get old. Yeah. Yeah, when I first learned Buddhism, I was much younger, and I remember my teacher saying, if you looked in the mirror and you saw what you were going to look like when you were old, you would be horrified. And I thought, oh yeah, yes, I'm going to age, but I'm not going to look old. Yeah. Well, I don't know who's looking back at me in the mirror, but it doesn't look much like the person that met the Dharma many years ago. And many people, other people actually notice this too, that I've aged. Because, the first book that I ever did, I Wonder Why, they put my picture on the back of it. That's how I looked like in 1987. Some people look at that picture and they look at me and they go, what happened to you? Yeah. And it's just aging. It's just aging, the natural process. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you look at your skin and it looks like your grandma's skin. Yeah. And have any of you experienced that? It's like, wait, how come grandma's skin is on me? You know? You look at your eyes as you age, your eyes, the lids do different things. Yeah, I don't know the technical terms for it. Why are my eyes looking kind of hooded now? Or why are they, more stretched out? Well, it's just age, yeah. And then you look at your whole body, and you look at the pictures of you when you're young, and you could dance and you could jump and you can do athletics and all these kinds of things, and you work so hard to look just like the people in the magazines, even though you never succeeded. Yeah, but you tried really hard. And then you're older and it's like, oh my ache. I used to never, I thought, it's just my older relatives that complain about aches and pains. It's just like, why do they complain about aches and pains? It's just, you can't see an ache, you can't see a pain. Why are they walking funny? Why are they saying, oh, the barometer is something different? So my arthritis or whatever it is acting up. I think, who thinks like that? What's going on? Well, let me tell you. It happens to you, and you go through, and like I was, usually pretty healthy and very active. You're supposed to be active. So I walked many miles. I worked in the forest. Everything's great. And then I got a pinched nerve and a bulging disc. And it's like I get up in the morning and, taking walk, when you've been in one position sleeping all night, then you stand up and you try and walk. And it's like, where did this body come from? It feels like all my joints are concrete. They don't move. Yeah. And how did this happen? I didn't do anything to make it happen. Why did it happen? I didn't, do something stupid like jump off a cliff. Yeah. How come my body hurts now? It's quite interesting, And you have to, your whole image of yourself starts to change. I won't go into all of that. You'll think that I'm just talking like your grandma. Yeah, that I'm just making up lies. But just you wait. I hope you never experience this. Yeah, because 2 years ago, you want to hear more about my aches and pains? I don't want an answer. I'm going to tell you. Yeah, because, it's so rewarding to talk about your aches and pains. It's like, I'm important. I have aches and pains. Yeah. So 2 years, again, out of the blue, I didn't do anything. I started having pain in my right hip all the way down. It's like, what's going on here? And then you have to go to the doctor and you have to wait for an appointment, and then they send you for a test and you have to wait for the results, and then they send you to another doctor and then they give you another test. And, it takes 6 months before they can say what's wrong with you when you knew already it hurts. That's what's wrong with me. It hurts. But it takes the doctors a while to figure out another name to give it. So I had to have a hip replacement. Yeah, I never thought, why me? I was active, da 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 da. Now They're going to take out part of my hip and put in something of titanium. Yeah, and they're going to put me under. I had never been put under before. Yeah, they're going to put me under. Okay, well, this is a new adventure. Get ready. Yeah. So aging is quite an interesting experience. Yeah. But, well, interesting. Not, yeah, just leave it at interesting. Okay. Okay. So, but we reject everything, the change we want, we think is great. The change we don't want, we reject. Why is this happening to me? Yeah. And my mother's favorite thing as she was aging was, what did I do to deserve this? Yeah. She also said that when I was naughty. What did I do to deserve a kid like you? Well, ask you and Dad about that. I was out of the picture. Okay. But, we don't accept change, and it becomes quite painful to us as when the change we don't want happens. Yeah. You're in a very close relationship, a friendship, maybe a romantic relationship, and then people grow in different directions. And you're going, what happened? What happened? Okay. So all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Second common condition, all contaminated phenomena, all polluted phenomena are unsatisfactory. Now, when we talk about polluted phenomena, we're not talking about the air and the water. We're talking about our mind and body being under the control of ignorance. Yeah, we're polluted by ignorance, the ignorance that misunderstands who we are and the nature of reality of all persons and phenomena. Okay, but everything that is under the influence of ignorance and the latencies of ignorance is going to be unsatisfactory. Okay. Now you're going to go, but when I'm in love, it's not unsatisfactory. It's wonderful. I'm in love. This person's just wonderful. They're going to make me everlastingly happy. They're going to love me forever. We're going to be the only couple who never fights. Yeah, but when we fight, we'll make up and we'll be more in love. Oh, this is wonderful. Yeah, we've all been in love. Haven't you felt like that? It's like, this must be nirvana. Yeah, well, it isn't. Yeah, why not? Because our body and mind are polluted by grasping at an inherent existence, that ignorance. And so is the other person. Yeah? So they have an ignorant mind, which means they're going to have attachment and anger and jealousy and arrogance and laziness and everything else we don't like. And we're going to have those kinds of things too. Yeah. So you thought that this was like the fairy tale romance, and then it turns out to be like a Frankenstein movie. Yeah. Or maybe not that bad, but it turns out after some time it isn't like what you thought it was going to be. Is it? Yeah. You thought it was just going to be all magic. And having a marriage is hard work. Yeah, it's very hard work. And if you aren't willing to work, and if you aren't willing to work at communication, if you aren't willing to give up your own trips sometimes, then you're going to have a really miserable marriage and a miserable life, because your marriage is going to consist of, you are doing what I want. And the other person's saying the same thing about you. And neither one of you is willing to budge because you feel your honor, your integrity, your pride is at stake. Yeah. My husband wants me to buy peanut butter every time I go to the store. He's controlling me. He's bossing me around. Why doesn't he buy his own peanut butter and leave me alone? We get into big things like that, don't we? Little things that happen become the content of enormous fights. Yeah. And we're not going to budge and they're not going to budge. So we are miserable together. Yeah, there's a lot of togetherness in marriage like that. Yeah, but not the kind of togetherness you want, because we're under the sway of our ignorance and our afflictions. Okay? So all polluted phenomena are unsatisfactory. And then the third, another way to say the third common factor of body, feelings, mind, and phenomena is all phenomena are empty. They are empty of having their own nature that makes them what they are. They are empty of bringing themselves into existence, of self-instituting. Yeah, they're empty of having some nature from their own side that makes them unique. Okay, they're empty like that, but we reject that. And we say, no, they have some solid nature that makes them what they are. Things are independent entities. Okay, like when you say I, okay? You're feeling when you say I am, do you feel like you're a product of causes and conditions? Or do you feel like you're just here, naturally here? When you say I, what's your feeling? Do you think I'm produced by causes and conditions? No, we generally know. I'm not produced by causes and conditions. I am an independent entity. Yeah? I think for myself. Yeah? Nothing, I can think for myself and decide for myself, and nothing is going to influence me. Yeah? But we're influenced by everything around us all the time. Okay? So this grasping at inherent existence, thinking that we do not live in relationship to any other phenomena, including our own minds, including being given a designation and by a mind conceiving us and giving us, designating what we are. We don't feel that way. I am me. Yeah. Nobody created me. I am me. Okay. So all of this is pollution, the pollution of ignorance that misapprehends how we exist. Okay. So we're going to pause here. It's lunchtime. Yeah. Oh, lunch. Then your mind, noodles, rice. What else are they going to have? Are they serving lunch here? Do we have to go out? Oh, we're Buddhist. We should be vegetarian, but I want to eat a big piece of meat. How can I do that without all the other people thinking that I'm naughty for eating meat? How can I pretend like I'm vegetarian? Yeah. Yeah, because I want people to like me. I don't want them to criticize me. Yeah, so I better look good. Yeah. So at work, I want to look like a good employee, honest. I want to look honest. I don't necessarily want to be honest. I want to look responsible. I don't necessarily want to be responsible. Okay. In Buddhism, I want to look like a saint. Chenrezig, he's my good friend. He stops by and says hello every day in my meditation. Aren't I holy? Yeah. So we're very attached to our reputation. That attachment controls us too.